Mara Sov rules the Awoken here in the solar system far out on the edges of the reef. Ever since arriving, it was her duty to keep her people hidden while attempting to help save humanity from alien threats that lie beyond. Now, although Mara does rule the Awoken, their creation was simply by chance, something she had no control over, yet most of their success is in her hands. Today we're going to discuss a lot, including some theories on the distributary and also a mention of the Exo Stranger that comes from the latest visit in the Queen's Court. If you did have the chance to complete Blindwell and get that offering for this week, we know that Mara Sov is gone for now. So let's dive into all these mysteries and uncover what they may mean together. Let's first begin by explaining how Mara Sov got into her prestigious position in the first place, and then we'll get into the stranger stuff towards the end.
The Cosmodrome? Not the first place I looked. As I saw the other ghosts find their guardians, and the centuries went by, I wondered if I'd ever find you. And then, I did.
Mara Sov and those who became known as the Awoken were born from a collision of light and dark. Most, if not all of these people, I believe, were aboard an Exodus green colony ship called the Yang Liwei. They were fleeing Earth because the darkness was invading and this was the beginning of the collapse. So as they tried to fly out as far as they could from our solar system, Mara began having second thoughts. She wanted to try and help save her fellow humans. All they were doing was running away, leaving the others to die. Now, of course, they probably couldn't do much, just a colony ship of, normal people, but you get what I'm saying. It's sort of the thought that counts instead of, running away from her problems and leaving her people to die. This specific ship they were on got caught in an anomaly between light and dark when they sort of clashed together outside of their vessel. At this exact moment, the Awoken were born and transported into a pocket dimension of sorts and had their own universe of paradise. In this distributary, life flourished for thousands of years as time was different compared to back on Earth. So for example, while humanity was going through the Dark Ages and so on, the Awoken were building their empire of perfection. This world was a tributary of another, but that it was forbidden to seek any way to rejoin the mother stream. For this reason, it would be called the distributary, for that was the proper name for a river that branches from the mother and does not return. So not diving into too much of the backstory with the whole distributary, although it is pretty cool, but as soon as they were sort of transported into this new dimension, someone named Alice Lee thought she was the first one to awaken. So with that knowledge, she began making the rules and named herself the first Awoken Queen of these new people. Now, if you have read the lore or watched some of my previous videos, we know that Mara Sov was actually the first one to awaken and sort of played the cards in her favor to complete a greater agenda. Mara, like previously on the Yang Liwei, wanted to return to the solar system and learn what remained of humanity and if she could do anything to help them now. Here's a card that sort of explains Mara's betrayal. She has convinced tens of thousands of Awoken to abandon their immortality. She has deprived the distributary of an infinite quantity of joy, championship, labor, and discovery, all the works that might be accomplished by the people who would join her in a mission to another world. So basically in the distributary, life went on, there was various different Awoken queens, and Mara was behind the scenes sort of playing this into her favor, figuring out if her human ancestors still were alive. So Mara had this plan to head back to Sol System. In that distributary, she convinced many people to come with her. The catch was, they would no longer be immortal like they were in this beautiful place, and hardship would be imminent in their return to the system. So essentially their options were stay here in the distributary where you're immortal, this is a place of paradise, or go back to the solar system where you could possibly die and not come back to life. But if these new Awoken truly wanted to help save their ancestors and learn what happened in the battle long ago, it was a risk they were willing to take, and so they did. Now of course there's tons more backstory, you can check out my other video on that if you like, but this began Mara's true reign as the Queen of the Awoken out there among the reef. Now me personally, thinking about the lore and always coming up with, crazy theories, I couldn't help but think what Mara's true plan here was. We see that the whole reason she came back was because she wanted to help save humanity, but recently it seems a lot different, right? We see meetings where she's talking to the Nine, moving an asset into position and conjuring up a plan. After that, Ghost gets really impatient because this curse is still ongoing and asks her what kind of queen she is.
Mara Sov, we need answers and your people need help. They are suffering while you're busy with what exactly? I don't know because you don't tell us. You never say anything. Nothing plain, nothing useful. Guess you're too wrapped up in your own affairs to be a good queen.
So, you know how to rule, do you? You understand the sacrifices I make. You speak of good queens and absent rulers, little light, so you must know these things. Tell me what I have done wrong. Speak! What should I do when my every action is in service of a future that benefits you? You do not know me or the things I do. Do not dare to presume. You have not earned the right. Get out of my sight.
So the curse in the Dreaming City is a big part of Mara's current anger with the ghost. This sort of cycle keeps going, and we haven't had any progress since it started when Riven was destroyed. Now, all of the Truth to Power entries are not all released, so I don't want to talk about this too much, but we essentially know what's actually happening with the curse and who may be behind it. I mean, heck, even if you didn't know the lore, it would be a pretty good guess to assume it has something to do with Savathun and her army, right? We've seen various evidence like her daughter Dalankaru invading the city to learn more about this place and how exactly it works. So Savathun is out there, and there's also a taken Vex Hydra that Oryx gifted to his sister a long time ago. In a brief overview without going into it too much, they're basically trying to find their way into the distributary and harvest this power on their own to rewrite their own nature and future. In a big picture, making themselves stronger and planning to wipe out humanity using some of the Awoken's strengths. And when you think about it, you can actually see how frightening this is, considering they are most likely involved in this curse and it hasn't receded at all. Now here's where we get into the speculation, which I enjoy. What if Mara Sov now was planning to make another distributary so humans could be saved and could become immortal? Every human clinging to life in the wild or stuck near the Traveler for protection would be free to live an immortal life in a place of paradise. And if it's not making a new distributary, maybe even trying to find a way to go back to the old one. Now don't ask me how any of that's possible, but Mara is definitely up to something, whether it's for the greater good of humanity or something more sinister. The whole goal of coming back to the solar system and setting up shop in the Reef was to help humanity. And although she hates the Traveler and she has many grudges towards the Guardians of the Light, it would seem her goal is still to help humans and the Light, but she also has some weird quotes which we'll talk about a bit with the Stranger. Now my next point is, we don't know what this asset being moved into position is, but what if it's a part of this plan? Now my best guess I made a while ago in a previous video suggested that it could have been her last Harbinger or some type of super weapon. Maybe she was placing this out there in the Reef, and when the darkness invaded she would use it to try and repel them back out into the universe. But then I thought, could she be planning to set up some sort of barricade where light and dark would clash again and create a new distributary? It would seem like a risky plan, but most of humanity would be free from these alien invaders, and the darkness wouldn't really be a problem anymore. So that's my crazy theory, but before we wrap up this video, let's talk about the 7th Queen's Court visit, where Mara makes various references to the Exo Stranger.
When there is too much darkness in the universe, light must cast it away. And when there is too much light, darkness must drown it out. This truth is our burden. This is what it is to be awoken. I dreamt of a friend I will come to have. She will tell me a side should always be taken, even if it's the wrong side. I think I should like her. The next act is about to begin, and I do not know when I will return. Fear nothing. Vow to no one. We will meet again. One day.
So pretty crazy, right? She begins by discussing the light and dark and how the Awoken were born. Then she says someone came to her in a dream, told her a side must be taken, even if it's the wrong side.
A side should always be taken, little light. Even if it's the wrong side.
Mara then says she likes this person, which of course is Elsie Bray, the Exo Stranger. Now, personally to me, the way Mara teleports out looks very similar back to the Stranger in Destiny 1 on Venus and also in the tower. It looks sort of like the same Vex transmat effect, teleporting out, except here in the Queen's Court there is no sound effects. Not sure if Bungie just didn't add it or if it's not supposed to be there, but I thought these looked pretty similar.
Meet again. One day.
And don't let them find you.
Lastly, if we take a look back at the Exo Stranger, we know she was contacting someone else while she was on Venus talking to our Guardian.
Too late returning. How many? Hold position, kill the engines, and don't let them find you.
So kill the engines, possibly a ship's engines, and don't let them find you, which could be the Darkness Pyramid ships like the one on Mara's table right here. Anyway, Guardians, that's all I got for today's video. Wanted to talk about the Queen's Court stuff, and I always like diving into little theories, trying to figure out what Bungie is going to do in the future, and I hope you enjoyed that part as well. We will see Mara Sov again someday, but is her ultimate plan now connected with the Exo Stranger, and what are they trying to do? Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for some more awesome Destiny 2 news and entertainment. My name's Evade, and I'll catch you Guardians in the next one.